Welcome to EIPIP Meeting 65. I have shared agenda in chat and we have a few open pull requests and some issues from EIP GitHub repository here for discussion and probably make some decisions so we can move forward with the pull requests at least. And then we'll get into the progress on EIP bot with some EIPs insight and maybe action items or decision made from the earlier meeting. So let's get started. The first one listed here is a CI added markdown linter. It's pull request number 5367. I suppose it was added by Sam Wilson. Sam, if you would like to maybe talk about the proposal.
Sure. This is actually PandaPip's proposal. The idea is to add a bot that corrects common Markdown issues and tries to keep people to the lowest common denominator of Markdown so that it's compatible with different renderers. There's been a lot of discussion on that pull request already. I think we've settled on a relatively decent set of lints to start, and we just wanted to get some consensus before merging that PR.
Sounds good. I don't know if Greg, you have any thoughts to add here. I know you earlier mentioned that it is related to bot. But yeah.
No, on late breaking agenda, I noticed Sam is here, so it could be an opportunity for he and I to discuss the reference client and how that's going and how we should be relating it to the EIP work, since we're making progress on that. As we clear through these other smaller issues, that would be maybe a good time for us to talk.
Yeah, okay, I'll put a note on the agenda for that.
Okay, good.
Cool. I don't see any other EIP editor. I can't see Light Client or Exec or anyone else. PandaPip did mention that he would be a little late for the meeting today. However, this pull request is by him, so I'm assuming that he is definitely on board. So maybe we can just let people know one more time in the Discord channel and move ahead with the decision. Sounds fair?
Yeah, I guess we can go to the next one, the MathJax one. Yeah, I think that's a less contentious suggestion. It's just adding a JavaScript library that can render LaTeX. And I think, Greg, you mentioned you like LaTeX, so maybe that's a good thing to add.
All right.
No, I think we lost Greg. Oh, no, he's still here. Okay.
Greg, if you want to take a look at PR number 5596.
5596, yeah.
So the idea here is like we are trying to make all editors aware of any changes which are proposed and also being merged by active editors on board. However, it is good to always collect a kind of rough consensus from all the present editors. So yeah, if you have any thoughts on that.
Yep, that's all.
So are you okay or not okay with adding MathJax?
I'm just asking whether it renders properly at the end of the line.
Oh, I'm not I didn't hear you ask anything. Yeah, I've never used it. I think it's probably okay. I think it's the most common JavaScript LaTeX renderer, but we can do some tests if you'd like.
Yeah, I mean, that's the big question. The last time I tried to use it, I couldn't get it to work, but that doesn't mean it doesn't work. It just means I couldn't get it to work.
Yeah, no, I know how that it goes. I guess if there's anything in particular you'd like to see, like a test of, put it in a comment on that PR and we can try it out.
Okay, I mean, EIPs are full of math that winds up getting, sort of butchered with, ASCII math in line. Um, that would look much better if it was, properly typeset. Um, and snatches from the yellow paper and things like that. Um,
Yeah, okay. Well, I'll try to get it to format some stuff from the yellow
cool.
paper. Yeah.
Yeah. And maybe one of the other formats works better. I really don't know. I I don't know where in the pipeline that final copy gets rendered. By what system?
Jekyll is the name of the renderer we use.
Okay. So somewhere there's documentation for the dialect of markup that it accepts.
Yep. Somewhere.
We
I've
had a,
never
we had a
looked.
really, really good system back in the 70s,
It had its quirks too. It definitely did.
Right, but they all do. We knew what they were.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Basically, Markdown is worse.
Yeah, no, I agree.
But anyway, moving on. Wine. Um,
Right.
just give me
So,
superscripts and subscripts,
I know, I know, I know. So I
Okay.
don't think we have enough editors on today to talk about adding a new editor. I don't feel like two of us is sufficient. And
I think he's done enough good work that I can't imagine any objection. But
okay, yeah,
um,
I'm good with that then.
all right, in that case, we can jump over to the latest item that is added by Sam. Thank you. And I believe Greg also wanted to discuss that. That's the execution specs.
Yep. So we're almost done implementing London. We've kind of paused so far on discussing how we want to integrate it into the process, since the merge and core devs kind of wanted a break for about a month. So yeah, there's not going to be much happening in terms of like what we're planning on doing. We're just in the final stretch of polishing up the finishing, catching up to Paris and then polishing.
So we
yeah,
are
I'm
not
really
far.
I'm really happy that it's coming together. You may have noticed that the VM oriented EIPs are all moving to Python as the demonstration language. But I
Have
don't
you
think,
have you been reading it, or
pardon?
have you learned Python, or?
I can hack it out. It probably wouldn't run. But it's decent pseudocode. That's the problem, is it's not code that's coming back out of a tested client. So
Not
uh
yet. Not yet.
well, I mean, that'll be an issue. I don't think I want to learn how to get that client running and learn enough Python to actually integrate code and test it into another client. Um, but I can write pseudocode that's good enough. And it can be a bit better than that, because I'm basically stealing code from the Epsilon group, and it's better code. But anyway, that code is not particularly related to the reference implementation because it predates it. And that could be aligned. I don't think it can be aligned just by, GitHub diffs. The code is there to demonstrate an algorithm, not to demonstrate a diff to some other system.
Yeah, putting it in the patch notation would probably clutter it up, right?
Well, getting it aligned, so it's recognizably the same algorithm in both places, not gratuitously different. But the other trouble with the diff is that that client moves on. So you've got a diff against some earlier version of the client. And that works against the EIP being reasonably self-contained specification. But anyway, that's one place where things have moved to Python, and it's a question of how do we keep that Python aligned with the reference specification, using the same notation to the extent that it makes sense.
Yeah, like same constant name, same function names where applicable. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, same algorithm.
Yep.
One of the one of the scenario I can think of is that there was a recent pull request to update the one of the parameter names to be consistent with 1559. I just want to call out that that's a good thing, because keeping parameter name the same across at least different EIPs is going to be helpful for readability and understanding.
Yeah, for sure. I think having just like a uniform language to talk about Ethereum is a huge benefit.
One thing though about specifically using Python is that I realized some of the early EIPs didn't specify parameter type. Like one question I have is for EIP 7 that introduced delegate call, and Vitalik wrote there's 6 operands being taken, but I had a hard time figuring out like what length of those parameter operands needs to be. Python doesn't give you that. I wonder if thoughts have been given to make it more explicit of the length of parameters.
So if you're talking specifically about the parameters to delegate call the opcode itself, they're all popped off the stack, so they're all U256s. But in the execution specs, we do use type to Python, so everything has types.
Do we want to suggest or mandate that implementations in Python as reference implementation should be explicit in type?
I think we can probably make that comment on a PR, but really that's up to the author. I think that's like a more of a content thing than a like formatting thing. But yeah, we can definitely suggest it.
Yeah, I feel it's editorial because it's like if you want people to adopt your EIP, you have to be specific in the type, so that the clients implementing your EIP is consistent across the board.
All right. So I think Sam's suggestion may work here. We can probably leave a comment on the pull request and let author decide on that. But going back to the discussion of execution specs, if I remember correctly, a few meetings earlier, we were on a page where we were hoping to have a meta E for the changes those are proposed. I am wondering if we are there yet, or we still see some discussion needed to be reaching that proposal status.
We have the same HackMD that Tim put up. We haven't really progressed beyond that yet because, like I said, the merge and Core Devs is paused for the time being.
Right. Yeah, no, I'm going to share the link here. Oh, you already did. No. Okay, I have shared the link to the HackMD that Tim has shared earlier for people to refer to. I believe the changes has to be done on both the EL and CL sides. So we should look forward to the meta proposal that is coming up for the expected changes with executable specs. Thank you for sharing all updates, Sam. Moving on to the issue section. I have listed a few issues which I collected from the EIP's GitHub repository. A few of them are created by PandaPeep. I know he is not on the call, but I just wanted to share with all the present participants if they have any thoughts that they would like to share, or else they are always welcome to leave a comment there. The first one listed here is new contract interface, and EIP should be required to include a privacy consideration section. This is by a new user. Yeah, anyone has any thought on this?
I think we're a blockchain and we're not a shielded blockchain. So I don't think we really need to write privacy sections, but that's just my opinion.
I see there
I-
are.
I am
Yeah,
not a
please go ahead.
lawyer problem here.
Yeah, yeah.
Excuse me, that's a good point. All right. Yeah, I mean, like, obviously, if there are some changes or people are interested in proposing any changes, the next step would be to propose it in form of pull request. Creating an issue definitely gives a good start, so people can start adding thoughts over there. Yeah. And I think the next one, which is EIPs should preemptively add a CLA, is also by the same author, I believe.
I think Panda is also in favor of having a CLE with patent waiver. I, however, personally feel that's that I have concern that will make it harder to contribute to EIPs. And before Mikhail quit, I think he voiced a strong opinion about not having CLAs. Yeah, I think my stance is weakly against having a CLA. I can see the value of it, but I can also see the barrier it creates. I just want to hear other editors' opinion on this.
I guess I'm weakly in favor of having a patent grant. I don't necessarily like the idea of having a separate CLA. And I'm also not sure I like Micah's approach of just ignoring legal concerns. But yeah, I'm not a lawyer again, so I have no idea.
Yeah, we are in some way creating the new legal precedents, I guess. I wonder,
I don't
does
think,
Greg, yeah, Greg, go ahead.
I don't think other organizations go to all of this effort. It's a lot to ask of an author to be signing off on all of this legalese. If an author is concerned, the author themselves can add the legalese that they feel they need. But otherwise, it's just being offered to the world. Here it is.
Yeah, I think the concern is more on the side of like consumers. Like if somebody's implementing an EIP, they might be concerned that the author has a hidden patent that they haven't released.
Even if the author is releasing the patent, chances are they might infringe someone else who have anything to do with the Ethereum, right? You can infringe a patent. You can just run into a patent without the author being
That's
aware
true.
of. So even if a client has to make the implementing client have to make their own judgment and research if they're serious about this. I'm in favor of the practice that we can recommend that EIP proposer to say that they release the patents. So my take on the EIP is that it's an improvement proposal. Therefore, if you want to be adopted as an author, then the easiest for you to the easier you make it to adopt it, the better for you as an author. And wearing a hat of like editorial contributor, I would say making authors from different background the easiest to contribute, the better for the entire EIP repository. So that I would say using that argument, I would trying to advocate that we can recommend, but not make it a mandate.
Okay, and I also have shared the link to a document created by PandaPeep in favor of this proposal. So yeah, people may go through and probably leave their more comments there.
But I agree with that. I definitely agree.
Sorry, the recommendation is to create an optional CLA, or
No, what Victor just said.
I think I'm aligned with you, Sam, in that CLA might be a little bit too much. So we can have something recommended in the content of EIP. But
oh, so yeah, I missed that part. Yeah, just like a little note in the copyright waiver section.
Yeah, so you optionally sign off any patent that you are aware of and you own, but like as a group of EIP repository, we don't require it. We don't mandate it. That would be my suggestion. I wonder if that's a consensus.
Yeah, I think that's reasonable. Would you mind putting up a PR so we can discuss the specifics of what you're suggesting?
Should the CLA issue be a good place to continue the discussion?
Yeah. I'm just saying, like, a PR would be good to actually put the just decide the actual wording.
Okay,
Yeah.
that sounds good. Yeah, I can do that.
Great, thanks.
Thank you. Moving on, the next one is ERATAD EIP. It is proposed by PandaPeep. Looks like a new one, not really new, 7 days ago, but there is a proposed change to EIP number. If anyone would like to take a look or have any opinion on thoughts on that. The number is 5652. Okay, we can, if anyone has any thoughts they would like to share right away, it's fine. We can discuss that. Otherwise, I have shared the link. Probably we can add comment over there. The next one is a dynamic required approval. So there is some proposal of, okay, how many approvals should be required? I'm going to share the link here. That is 5651, issue number 5651, again by PandaPeep. Yeah, I would encourage.
Yeah, so this is the more complicated approval system that Micah had proposed. I don't think I have any problems with doing this. I just think it's complicated. Yeah.
I wonder if the suggestion is to be using bot to get this thing done, like.
Yeah, it is. It's to have the bot like change the approvals over time, or the required approvals.
Yeah, I mean, if this has to be done by bot, even if it is complicated and it can be put into like codes and can be run, then I think should be fine, right? So we can probably, the next step would be to have a pull request to the EIP bot repository to maybe see if this works. Okay, we don't have Panda on call, so maybe we can bring it up later. The last one here is automatically merge all new EIPs. And the number is 5641.
So I'm a little torn on this one because a lot of EIPs still have like mixed up motivation and rationale sections in the first draft. But the formatting is certainly gotten a lot better lately. So maybe we do this. I don't know.
Actually, I also have an opinion on this particular proposal. I feel like it should not be merged as draft all by itself without a reviewer reviewed by an EIP editor. Even if bot is doing a good job, I believe there is manual intervention needed, at least for two statuses. Number one is when it is merged for the first time as draft, and number two, when it is merged as final. I believe that we want to create a standard. So the first pass as draft is also very important, as we have the final pass as final, because we don't want to spam our repository with all proposals getting in as draft, and it never goes through different statuses and never reaches to final. That will swell up the repository. I mean, it will add a lot of maybe not so useful proposal, even if they are syntax wise correct, even if they are drafted properly. So that's my thought on that.
I think that's a really good point. I think you just convinced me that we don't want to do this. I think a lot of EIPs get abandoned in the draft stage, and so the only time an editor gets to review it is before it gets merged as a draft. So yeah, I think I'm against this.
Yeah, I think we want to encourage people to start from bigger ideas on the magicians. Start a discussion from something closer to an EIP and let things die on the vine there. But people will work the way they're going to work. And we no longer use the issues for that purpose like we used to.
Right, I would agree. So the best way is to like encourage people start and have more discussion on fellowship would be like pre-draft section, right? Till it is being merged.
Yeah. An actual pre-draft status might be helpful to keep those sorted out, to make clear that this is an intended EIP. This isn't just a general idea to discuss.
And then maybe not assign an EIP number to pre-draft until they actually go into draft.
Oh, definitely do not assign.
Yeah, okay. That's an interesting idea. Yeah, I think that's something.
Absolutely no number. Do not call it an EIP. All it has is a title.
Right. And unless we are at a point where the EIP number is assigned by EIP, but I think we can also call it in the form of pull request. I mean, if not the title, because title sometimes could be hard to find, but pull request number is way easier to find it. It can rest in the pull request.
Yeah, there needn't be a pull request. It can live at the very top entry in a magician's thread. It can be arbitrarily large, marked down, and editable, so it maintains a history. So a pre-draft can be maintained there for discussion. It doesn't need any help from GitHub.
Okay. Okay, let me quickly give this link to copy link to EIPIP. Looks like he is around to join this meeting. We can probably move on and see when he joins, and if he may have any thoughts to add, we can get back to this one. But in the essence of time, let's move on to item number 2. I'm assuming that we do not have any decision, or do we, on this topic?
If I could back up for a second to the patent issue, I looked at the Creative Commons license again, and it specifically says that it does not affect patent and trademark. And I think that's appropriate, that we just not have a policy. It's simply a specification. We don't endorse the specification. We don't certify. It's simply that, and it's totally on the user of the spec to be aware of any patent or trademark issues. And it's perfectly fair for the author to hold patents with the intent of licensing patents. That's fair. It's a specification. That's all it is.
That sounds fair. And I believe the next topic that is listed as here for formal discussion is about license. And yeah, what license to use for EIP assets. We discussed this in the past, but I believe there were no conclusion or decision on that. And we wanted to have a little bit more of discussion here. So yeah. Sam, if you would like to give a little bit background on this topic to just jog the memory of everyone here.
Some editors want to force all assets to be CC0, and I don't want to do that. I want anything that isn't copyleft to be allowed for assets.
Greg, do you have any thoughts on this?
I'm not a lawyer again.
Right. I mean, on a high level, I personally think that when we are talking about Ethereum and we are talking about having something as a standard and giving place to Ethereum repository, we should try to make things as much as open source, free, no patent, no like trademark things, so people can use it freely. Ethereum is an open source blockchain. We are like trying to, I mean, anyone is welcome to come and use it. So why to add things which may or may not have permissions to be used or reused, actually? But that's my thought on that. I would be happy to hear other editors' thought on
Yeah,
that.
that's my thought as well. Like, if somebody wants to come in with and mandate that you have to use a certain algorithm in an EIP, and then a year later they start suing everybody because they patented that algorithm, I think that's completely ridiculous, and we should try to avoid that situation.
Right. And now we are joined by PandaPip. Panda, we were discussing a couple of proposals by you, issues that you have listed. And one of the latest one, which is currently under discussion, is about the patent and also the use of license for EIP assets. I wonder if you have any thoughts to share on that.
Sorry, didn't catch that second part.
So it's about the license usage for
There's a
EIP
bit of
assets.
background noise.
Yeah.
You sound fine to me, Pooja. I don't know if it's something on your end, Panda, but
It's definitely me. I'm right next to a road right now and I'm outside. And on really, really, really bad internet and a bad computer.
Okay, not a problem. If you can hear me now, we were discussing about if we should be allowing patenting stuff or maybe assets which may have some trademark already, or should it be only which is free for people to reuse, license issues. If you have any thoughts on that, probably you can share it.
Well, I think it's pretty obvious that, well, I mean, for one thing, all of the assets should be, sorry, all the EIPs should be CC0, just so that anyone can just use an EIP without having to worry about randomly being sued, like in any case. And I feel like patent and trademark waivers are just like kind of an extension of that. You should be able to use an EIP without having to worry about randomly being sued for using it.
Right, that looks like general thought process of some of the editors here too. So, yeah.
And this is probably particularly relevant for core EIPs because you don't want Ethereum itself to suddenly get patented.
yeah, I don't even know what would happen in that case. Maybe we should include like some patented image algorithm in Ethereum just to see what would happen.
I don't know, graffiti with that. Now we can expect that. Okay, is it fair? Yeah,
I
please
just
go
think
ahead, Gary.
that's too much to ask of an author. Patents are a minefield. You can't help but violate them. At Oracle, engineers were not allowed to look at patents because the penalty for knowingly violating a patent was 3 times the penalty for unknowingly violating it. So it's just a minefield. The author can't be expected to do a patent search. And it's unfortunate, but it's just a risk that that the client teams take. I think part of the defense is simply that if they're not being done for money.
So the particular patent waiver I added is basically the authors, if they have any patents that they use in the EIP, then they aren't allowed to sue anyone for using the EIP.
Well, they should disclose them.
Right now, they're not obligated to, though.
That's true. So
This basically just means that they don't, they can't patent troll. It has to be someone else, a third party.
We specifically say that we have nothing to do with them. So I'm generally in favor of just leaving it as it is. I hate putting more requirements on authors, and we haven't had any problem yet.
I feel similar with Greg. I can see the value of requiring patent to be granted or be disclosed. I feel it's a little bit too much to ask, and also you can't prevent someone who proposed an EIP and that infringe someone else's patent if they're not aware of. So I think it's
that's what I'm suggesting is that basically the patent waiver I've added is that the authors can't sue people for their own patents. Other people can, in any time that it's a patent not owned by the authors, like say like some random third party, they use some random third party image thing that is patented. The authors had no idea. The patent waiver wouldn't apply there since it's specifically the author's claim, rights that are waived, not those of the third party.
I'm in favor of have it optional and make it a convenient way for people to waive the patent. Because as author, if it's a sincere author, the easiest it is for the adopters, the better for the EIP. So any sincere author would try to make it as easy as possible. But coming from an industry that cares a lot about patent and IPs, for people like me, I'm not even sure if I were able to contribute to EIP anymore if there is a mandate for patent granting because of other agreements that I have with, for example, like my employer. So that's the background. So when Greg mentioned that in Oracle, employees were not even permitted to make patent search, I totally resonate because that's some other trainings I've seen as well. So I think we're entering a space of legal practice, and none of us, I am assuming, is a lawyer here on this call. I can see the value and the good heart behind it, but I think we need a little bit more. We might need a little bit more expertise in a call for making it such a strong decision. I think optional is definitely valuable. Like making it optional, I think is definitely valuable to be. Yeah.
All that PR does is add it to the template. Authors could absolutely probably just delete it. I've seen authors sometimes change the CC0 to something else, which oftentimes gets very quickly corrected. Sometimes it requires a bit of prodding. In terms of the agreements with the employer, that applies to licenses too. You have to get permission from your employer. In fact, explicitly states that in the CC0 license, that you have to get permission from your employer if it might be the property of your employer.
Yeah, CC0 is much less like
I
copyright
agree that we shouldn't
protection.
require it. I could agree. I am weakly in favor of requiring there to be a lawyer present before requiring it.
I think another thing here is I don't think I want this optional, because I think that would create more uncertainty in the minds of people implementing EIPs. I think we should either leave it completely unstated, and that way, like everybody knows or doesn't even think about it, and it's up in the air, or we should do it for every EIP. If we have some EIPs that give you a patent grant and some EIPs that don't, that's going to make people really hesitant to implement EIPs that don't have a patent grant. So I think it's better to just not have it or have it, not in between.
So why would that be a problem? If people are more hesitant to use EIPs without a patent grant, what's the problem in that? They absolutely should be more hesitant.
Well, then they shouldn't be in the EIPS repository. Basically, it's like we want EIPs to be as open as possible, and if we're considering patents for some EIPs, we should consider them for all EIPs.
If we want EIPs to be as open as possible, why are we even considering not having a patent grant?
Because we just want to ignore the whole patent issue entirely. We're just assuming that there are no patents and everything is open and free. And as soon as we acknowledge that patents exist, we should acknowledge they exist for all EIPs.
I guess that's fair. Let's keep the PR open, but
yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
We're using the CC. We've been using it for a while. It's no problem. It's been carefully crafted by lawyers in this domain. It's got precise language on patents. And it's carefully just saying we have nothing to do with that. This is a specification. Follow it at your own risk.
Yeah, and also patent is a very jurisdiction specific thing. I wouldn't be surprised if there's some jurisdiction that doesn't even consider patent a protected thing. It's very widely used in the Western and in many countries, but I don't think it's a natural thing as well. So maybe leave it to the implementers and their own jurisdiction to determine whether patent in their place is, well, any specific patent is still valid in their own jurisdiction.
Right. So as PandaPip suggested, we can probably keep this one open, this pull request open. If we have pull request number, I don't see it added here on the agenda. And we can continue discussing on that. Looks like we have divided opinion here. It would be nice to collect thoughts from other editors. Anything anyone would like to add to just wrap this up? This topic in the sense of time, probably we should move on. Yes, please go ahead, Panda.
Let's wait for there to be a lawyer on the call.
Fortunately, we have one person on the call today. She has a legal background, but I am not sure if she is ready to be talking on this topic today. Shubhangi, if you have any thoughts, if you would like to share anything.
Hi. Yeah, I've taught international contract law and intellectual property law for many years, so I don't teach anymore. But yeah, it's a complicated topic, so I would rather not. Basically, what I said in the chat, that it may be easier to just talk to a practicing lawyer who's more familiar with the Ethereum community and can give good advice.
That sounds like a fair advice coming from a lawyer. Obviously, we can expect this. So yes, if people are more interested, we can probably reach out to foundation team and see if there is any scope for change, though Greg already mentioned that it was crafted very well, taking into considerations of all legal aspects. So we should have our trust in there. But because this is open source, because we always welcome changes, it's good to keep this open for some more time, and let's hope we get some traction from the foundation side. Is that a fair midway to move ahead, Panapip?
Sounds like a good idea.
Good. Thank you very much. All right, let's move on to the next topic, which is EIP bot. We have a few people on the call. I know there are some progress going on. Jose, if you would like to share any updates.
So
Hello.
there's the
Go ahead.
EIP bot. There's the other kind of bot I'm working on, which is EIP bot, but faster and a bit less code and not automatically tested. So that's probably something that I'm going to have to add sooner rather than later. Main upside of it, I think more simple code base, also works with deleting files. The ability to add or remove, basically it kind of works pretty simply. So adding new rules, removing old rules, modifying them, really like dead easy. They're all in one place, separated by file name. Downside, of course, it's been manually tested, but doesn't have automatic test cases, which is something that, now I think about it, probably should be added before it's merged. As for the EIP bot itself, I'll leave it to Jim.
Thank you, Panda. Well, we closed the issue 34. It was PR and merge. That was last week. I just tested the issue 63, which concerned the fact that deleting the EIP 5000 in that time through the EIP 5255. Actually, it is no problem with any of the two existing bots, the EIP double B and the EIP bot. I already comment in the issue 63 respectively, and therefore you can see there the test and why the bot didn't fail. I mean, basically, just to briefly summarize, if you're gonna delete an EIP file, you are not gonna delete it right in a file without the EIP1 format claiming to delete any EIP file. Anything is gonna be tried to be merged to the EIP repo must follow the rules. And that's why basically the bots in that time failed, not precisely because they were not processing
Actually,
the fact
that's not
that.
entirely.
Go ahead.
That's not entirely true. Although the CI was failing there, EIP bot was also failing because in the code it's assumed that the file always exists when a file is modified, i.e. added, changed, or deleted. It'll always be accessible. The problem is when it's deleted, that's not the case. When the bot calls the GitHub API, it returns a 404 not found. And if you go to that pull request, hold on, delete.
Well, I don't know, Panda. I was testing this, and basically when you delete a file, the EIP bot doesn't even start because the EIP bot activated with the pull request number. which is associated to a file, sorry, please, which is also associated to the file that presumably contains an EIP. And therefore, that's the idea of the whole bot.
I'm just going to quickly.
Just to finish, the same case goes with the EIP double B. If the rules start following the template for the file, if you want to delete the file, you just go and delete it. You try to merge it, and it's gonna be EIP double B is gonna check the template. The EIP bot is not gonna run, and the CI will run, which is just need to consider the fact that there is an empty file what you're trying to a non-existent file what you're trying to, or deleted file what you're trying to merge. I mean, those, of course, you can write another bot or update this bot. Just as I comment in the issue, just to consider the fact that you are the pull request that you're trying to merge is just from the fact that the file doesn't exist. I mean, that's it. That's the base case. But as it is, it's not failing.
Yes, it is.
The boss. Well,
objectively, it is failing.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Whatever you say.
And I've determined that this is because files are being deleted. When the PR that's updating EIP 2335, whatever it is, the diamonds one, the one that updates that, deletes a file, deletes a few files actually. It's failing with the exact same error. I once created a PR to update my EIP. It deleted a file in the assets folder. It failed for the exact same reason. It's very clearly because it's sending a GET request to the GitHub API to fetch the contents of a file which no longer exists. That is the reason why it is failing. Admittedly, there are other reasons why this particular PR can't be automatically merged. The EIPW issue, the issues, and the Hitmo-Proofer issues both mean that if we wanted to manually merge it, it wouldn't work. But it is a bug that you cannot delete files, even if you modify your own EIP, delete a file in the assets folder, EIPW, sorry, not EIPW, EIP bot will currently error because of a bug where it tries to fetch a file.
But that's a different issue. That's the 92, which is not the fact that deleting the EIP file, which is the issue 63. That's what I'm testing and speaking about. What you're speaking about is deleting a file that belongs to the NEIP. That's a separate issue that I haven't tested. What I just tested is the point that you delete an EIP file, and I just retesting right now, and I mean, it's no problem.
They are the same bug. It is the root cause. The root cause for both is the same. I happen to know this as a fact.
No,
it works for EIP asset. It works for EIP asset files. It works for just random files. When I deleted and added new CI files, it threw the same error, and it's from the same error for when EIP 5000 is being deleted.
Well, the idea that the idea that the EIP 5000 wasn't deleted for the box is because you were not deleting the EIP 5000. What you were doing was trying to merge another EIP that was wrongly configured, which was the file that was wrong. I just want to tell you right now, which is totally different to the case that deleting an EIP file. I mean, you were trying to merge the EIP 5255, which the first line was delete EIP 5000. I mean, that's not going. The bots are going to fail due to the fact that that's not the way that you write
if you don't write
any EIP. I mean, at least that you want to include. I don't know. That you want to include a condition into the EIP one that say that when the file says the delete an EIP, you're going to have a particular case say to analyze the bot. I mean, to make the bot wrong. But the reason that this, what you say is true, because that's a separate issue. But the issue for deleting an EIP file is exactly what I test. I haven't tested your case, to be fair to what you say. And I'm quite sure that if there is an issue open for that, is because there is a bot. Actually, we discussed it in that time when we were reviewing the open issues. But for this issue, for deleting an EIP file from the EIP repo, I just tested, but needs to be considered into the CI. What I see is the case that the file is not going to exist anymore. But I recommend that this should be done, manually. I don't know, for any of the editors or whoever is in charge of, which is, I presume that are the editors, whoever is in charge to maintain the EIP repo integrity. But yeah, I see what, now I understand what you say. You say that's the other issue that we were discussing 1 or 2 weeks ago. Yeah, that issue I haven't get that, which is the 95. Correct. But
sorry to interrupt here, Jose and Panapi.
That's okay. That's okay.
Yeah, looks like we are getting into weeds of this technical proposals, pull request, and solving this issue. Probably we can take it offline and continue discussion on the GitHub repository. Yeah, we are on time. Like we are 1 minute past the time. We would like to quickly wrap up this call, if that's okay, and we can continue discussing either on the Discord channel or on the GitHub pull request. So,
thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Jose, and thank you, Panapi, for sharing the updates. I would quickly like to just check on the agenda item. We do have EIP's Insight and EIP Editing Officer. For EIP Editing Officer, the second meeting was conducted yesterday. It went well. We discussed a few pull requests and tried to help some new authors with their questions. I would encourage more authors to join meeting if they have any question, concerns, or if they would like to learn anything about the EIP editing proposal process. And for EIP's Insight, I have already added the link in the agenda. On a very high level, we have 5 proposals merged as draft, and we have 2 proposals in last call with deadline for proposal 5528, which is refundable fungible token. The deadline is 16th of October. And there is another one, which is 4834 hierarchical domains, and it has a deadline of 30th September. So if you are a DApp developer or anyone interested in either of these proposals, would have comment or suggestions or would like to reach out to author, this is the time before this proposal move into final status. So please leave a comment either on discussion tool link added to the EIP. And yeah, I think that's all the time we have got for today's meeting. Thank you everyone for joining us today. I hope to see you in 2 weeks from now. Thank you, everyone. Have a good one.